Welcome to Syndicated Nightmares, where each week we take a deep dive into an episode of Freddy's Nightmares based on the Nightmare on Elm Street film series. Hosts Dave and Michelle discuss episode 20 of Freddy's Nightmares, titled The Light at the End of the Tunnel, which aired May 13th, 1989, written by James Capp and Jonathan Butel, and directed by Jonathan Butel. And their names are just going to be messed up because I mess them up all the time.
Well, we don't know that. Maybe that's exactly how their names are pronounced.
Yeah. Well, if they're listening, they can email me and say, look, this is how you say my name.
Yeah.
So this aired May 13th, which is right around when Mother's Day is. So I think that they should have saved their episode that's actually titled Mother's Day. They should have saved it for this one.
Yeah, that would have made sense.
Yeah, I mean, since they're all like anthology episodes, they really don't need to be put in any type of order except for the pilot and Sister's Keeper.
Right.
But other than that, they could have aired them in any order they wanted to.
That's true. And there was the one episode we talked about where there was a Christmas reference, but it was an episode that aired in January.
Yeah.
So they're sort of all over the place with that.
Yeah, they are. They dropped the ball on when they needed to air these. So today's episode is about a man tries to overcome his fear of the dark by getting a job in the sewer, and then a pornographic store owner becomes trapped in his nightmares.
It was like a regular video store, but it had an adult section.
That's what I thought too, but he kind of acted like really inappropriate and pornography-ish. So maybe that's what they were getting at. But yeah, it was a normal video store. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which when we get to his part, I have a lot to say about a video store because that was my first job. So I have a lot of insight.
I mean, it's supposed to be funny, but I thought the opening was pretty dark.
Yeah, it is.
There's a family at the table. There's a little boy named Mikey. And he's asking his parents where babies come from, and it's supposed to be this cutesy thing. I
kind of got like a 1960s sitcom vibe from it, like the whole introduction for it.
Oh, and Freddy, he's watching it on TV, and he does something to change it, and the title says Freddy something.
And then the 30-something theme song starts to play.
Oh, was that? I've never seen 30-something, but so I got the title reference, but not the theme music.
Yeah, that was the theme music.
And then so Freddy's sort of like from wherever he's watching TV, he starts, throwing weapons. So he throws a knife that kills the dad. He throws a noose that hangs the mom, and he shoots an arrow into the dog's head. It's really...
That was the part that was really disturbing. And I think, I know the entire show was canceled because the Bible thumpers wrote in and they're like, the show is too violent for TV and blah, blah, blah. And at first I was like, relax, it's fine. But then when Freddy shot an arrow in the dog's head, I was like, oh, I bet this is the episode that did it. This episode right here, that's the one that they're talking about. Yeah,
it was pretty unnecessarily brutal.
Yeah, it was.
The kid doesn't seem that fazed by it. Like the wall opens up and he grabs a flashlight and a toy gun, opens up into like a boiler room type place, and so the boy just gets up from the table and he starts walking into there, wandering through the boiler room.
This whole scene, it kind of gave me a Stranger Things vibe to it, where like the little kid is going through dangerous, scary places just with his flashlight investigating, and it's just like, ho hum, this is what I do, getting my... Right. I thought he was dressed in like a Boy Scout uniform. So, like, this is what I do to get my Boy Scout badge.
Right. But you would think he would be a little more traumatized from just seeing his whole family slaughtered in front of him at the breakfast table.
Complete with family dog as well. He's wandering around this scary sewer area, and I thought it was a werewolf. Like, he hears this werewolf howl off screen, and then the little boy ends up screaming. And then it cuts to this adult waking up as he's like falling out of bed.
And the adult is Michael, so he's apparently adult Mikey.
Mm-hmm. Michael lives in a studio apartment with his girlfriend Linda. Their studio apartment is kind of cool. They have this like neon light that's hanging up, like, you know, the when you go to a bar and they have the neon like Bud Light signs or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's one of those lights, but it doesn't say like Bud Light on it. It's just like this weird squiggle line. But I thought that was kind of cool. And,
and they have a fireplace in their bedroom.
Well, I thought it was just a studio apartment because their bedroom and kitchen are like all in the same room.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. But it was still like a big, gorgeous apartment. Like they lived in a really nice place.
It turns out Michael is unemployed and Linda works at a video store. And I have in my notes, no wonder they live in a studio apartment, because I worked at a video store in 1998 and I made minimum wage, which was $5.10. I worked like 20 hours a week, and my paycheck was exactly $99 every week. And I looked up the minimum wage in 1989 when this takes place, and it was only $3.35. So if Linda, the only breadwinner in this relationship, is working 40 hours a week, she is only bringing home $435 a month after taxes.
Oh, wow.
That's it. Yeah. So I'd be telling Michael, you need to get a job.
Right.
I don't care what you do.
But it seems like she wants him to get a job, like, because she doesn't want him to be lazy and just hanging out at the house all day. But she doesn't seem stressed about money, though.
No,
there's
not
no
at all.
Like, how are we going to pay the rent or anything like that.
Yeah. And she's like, while she's having this discussion with him, she's making herself a sandwich. Now, I don't know if it's like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or whatever, but she doesn't seem, they aren't living as if they are scraping pennies right now.
Right.
So, I don't know. Maybe she makes more than minimum wage at the video store.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt it, though, but who knows?
Or one of them has rich parents.
But isn't your rent supposed to be like 1/4 of your monthly income?
It is, yeah.
Okay, so then that would make that their studio apartment rent is only $100 a month.
Yeah, I don't think that's possible.
I don't think so either. So anyway, Lisa lectures Michael about getting a job, as we can kind of see why now. And Michael tells her that it isn't for lack of trying. Like, he's been trying to get jobs. They either don't call him back or they're too low of pay, blah, blah, blah. He sees a job in the paper and calls about it. And then we go to Lisa, who is working at Springwood Video Store.
Of course.
Of course it's Springwood Video.
So I wanted to ask you this as someone who worked at a video store, because our first shot in the video store, so we meet Murray, the sleazy guy who runs the video store, and this woman's asking him, like, should I rent this? And it's called Crabmen from Venus. And he's, like, just trying... throwing everything at her to get her to rent it. And, it's super violent. And she's like, well, I have kids. And he's like, oh, it's a great family movie. It doesn't seem like that's as the owner of the store, he should just want her to rent something. He shouldn't be so invested in she needs to rent that movie in particular.
I saw it as, like, he just wanted her to rent any movie as well, but she already had that one in her hand, so it would be easier to sell that one.
Okay.
Maybe. But yeah, when I worked at the video store, we had to make recommendations all the time, and people would come up and say, my 14-year-old really wants to see this movie. Is there any nudity in it? And I'd be like, it's Basic Instinct. Yes, there is.
Nice.
Yeah, we would get questions like that all the time. And if you like talking about movies, as obviously you and I do, it was a really cool job to work at, because I just talked about movies for 4 to 8 hours a day, depending on what my shift was.
Did you ever give people recommendations and then they like came back the next time and told you how they liked it?
Yeah, there was at my video store. Here's a nice story for you. At my video store, we had an adult room in the back. And there was this guy who, he had several DUIs under his belt, so he wasn't allowed to drive. And he would walk to the store every day. And it was his goal to rent every single adult movie we had in the back room. But he would have to do it, like, not in order of how they were on the shelf, but that's like how he would remember if he saw it or not. So he would like go back to the back room and come out, and he'd be like, "Hey, when is Edward Penis Hand supposed to be back?" And I would look it up and say, "Oh, tomorrow." And he'd say, "Okay." And then he would come back the next day and he would rent Edward Penis Hands. That is a real adult film, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. There's also one, I never got to watch it. There's a adult blooper reel where it's like all the bloopers from adult films. And on the back of the movie box, you know how it'll have like critics saying like best movie of the year or whatever. The line on it was, "I laughed so hard I forgot to whack off."
Oh my god. That's amazing.
I know. Yeah.
So with this guy who wanted to rent all of them, I mean, was it all straight porn?
No, we had some gay ones back there. I don't know if he just skipped over those. That never really came across. He would of course rent the female on female ones. Okay. But no, we had some male gay ones, and either I didn't realize he was renting those or he skipped over those.
Okay.
Yeah. I only worked there for a year and a half, I think. So I wasn't there too long.
So you don't know if he accomplished his goal of
No, because we had like 300 back there. We had so many. Yeah, and if someone rented any tape, we had cassette tapes back then. The DVDs weren't out yet, but if someone rented a cassette tape, no matter what it was, if they came back and were like, "Oh, the tape is all messed up," we would have to bring it home to make sure that the tape was messed up before we would refund their money. So even if it was an adult film, and that's how I know that there's an Edward Penis Hands, because I had to bring Edward Penis Hands home to validate that it really, like, the tracking was off before I could refund the guy's money.
Well, why'd you have to bring it home? There was no player in the store?
There was a player in the store, but we were open from like 10 a.m. to midnight, and I wasn't, and like the TV was up high in the corner. So if we played it in the store, it would play on all of the TVs in the store. Oh. So, and it was just one of those, like, it's better if you just bring it home. We were allowed to play videos in the store as long as they were PG-13 or under. Like, we couldn't watch any R-rated movies while we were there, and certainly not X-rated movies. But yeah, so I went home one night, and I was like, "Mom, I have to watch an adult film, so if you hear something coming from my room, it's fine." But yeah, sure enough, Edward Penis Hands, the tracking was off, so I had to give the guy his money back. So that's for my glory days.
Excellent.
Working at a video store. Yeah, anyway. So yeah, we are extremely off topic, but...
Yeah. But Michael... So it's so weird. Michael answers this job ad. The guy hires him over the phone. But I'm so curious about... Because he just tells his girlfriend about it. We don't hear the conversation. So he somehow gets hired a job where he is told absolutely nothing about what the job entails.
Right. He just knows that it pays well.
So he shows up, and it's Dick Miller from Gremlins, who just passed away recently.
Yeah.
So his name is Al Kenyon, and he calls himself the Lord of the Underworld. And it turns out the job is working in the sewers. And he's supposed to walk around the sewers looking for cracks, smelling for gas, and doing overflow control. It's not the most glamorous job, and he shows up there in a suit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then this is where we learn that Michael is also afraid of the dark. So Al goes down into the sewer with him to, like, show him around, and he is telling him that he needs to be careful and to watch out for albino alligators. And Michael's like, "That's crazy. There's no such thing as albino alligators. There's no alligators in this part of the world. You're full of it." And he turns and trips and lands headfirst into the mouth of an albino alligator. So then we find out that it was just a prank, and the albino alligator is like this rubber albino alligator that Al just has as an initiation process for working in the sewer. So it's kind of like his little gag that he pulls on everybody who works there.
It was like a good jump scare.
Oh yeah, because at first I was like, how are they going to explain this albino alligator? Because as someone from Ohio, I know we don't have any alligators here.
No, but I do remember that being like an urban legend, like someone flushed a pet alligator down the toilet and it grew in the sewers.
Oh yeah, there's a horror movie called Alligator, and it's about a kid who throws his pet alligator into, or flushes his pet alligator, and it
is that
that's
what happens in the movie?
Yeah, it's in the sewer. I think that's I just know that there's a big alligator in the sewer, and I'm pretty sure it's from a kid flushing his pet down there. And then
excellent.
The alligator like gets to be huge, and he's just in the sewer eating people. I think there's one point where he escapes from the sewer and he ends up in like a swimming pool that's like full of chlorine. So I don't know if he would actually swim in it. But yeah. So and then he like eats all the kids in the pool. It was kind of funny.
Oh, that sounds pretty fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, so Michael ends up waking from another bad dream, and Linda is not very sympathetic about his apparently new phobia that he has, because he didn't have it before. Maybe not.
I got the sense that she knew he was afraid of the dark, but it was sort of flaring up again.
Oh, okay.
Could be wrong though.
Okay. Well, and Michael, he's embarrassed about his job. So maybe it's his phobia is stress induced, and that's why it's like coming up now.
She's totally supportive of it. She doesn't mind that he's working in the sewers. She's just glad he has a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which after meeting her boss, she's probably like, shit, if I can handle this guy, you can handle a sewer, you're fine.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, she's not happy about him being scared of the dark.
Mm-mm. So then Michael dreams of the little boy from earlier, the Boy Scout, and he's walking in. This little boy is walking in the sewer, and he's talking about his fear of the dark. And then Michael wakes up in a cold sweat, and he wants to sleep with the light on. And Linda's just like, no, we're not sleeping with the light on, which is kind of like really insensitive about it, because I get it, he's a grown man, he shouldn't be afraid of the dark, but also be a little more sensitive towards what your boyfriend is going through. And if it's bothering you that much, just go sleep on the couch. Like, you don't have to sleep in the same bed.
Right, I was thinking that too. Or, she could have been like, well, you can put, this little light on.
Yeah.
And then he ends up sleeping like with two flashlights shined directly in his face, which I can't see how that would be comforting.
No, not at all. So anyway, so now he's at work in the sewer, and he's assigned to check a backup valve that's like way deep in the sewer, and he has to go alone. Yeah,
and I actually really liked this part. I thought it was really well done. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess he refers to it as a hatchway. I'm not sure what the technical term is, but like the door thing with the wheel on it. Mm-hmm. And the wheel starts turning by itself, and this monster hand comes out.
And it's a really cool monster hand.
Mm-hmm.
It's like got these like long skinny fingers, and they like reach around, like they kind of look like spider legs a little bit, and like they like reach around the edge of the doorway. It was really cool.
I mean, it sort of reminded me a little of Aliens, just sort of when they're exploring the abandoned space station, and like an alien hand coming out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. So Michael runs out of the sewer, and he tells Al about the monster, and then Al's like, just go home, buddy. And I thought he was getting fired, but it turns out Al was just like sending him home for the day.
Yeah, and then he has a dream again, and Linda says, it's either me or the lights, and she walks out on him.
Yeah, and it's just so absurd that she would she won't break up with him because he doesn't have a job. Like, that was okay with her. But being afraid of the dark and having to sleep with the light on, that's like the final straw for her.
Right. Although I guess, so she's at the video store all day with this awful boss, and then all night she's got her boyfriend is a mess. So I can see how the stress might be building for her.
That's true. But, like, I just go back to sleep on the couch. You don't have to sleep in the same room. In the same room. So anyway, so Linda leaves him for being afraid of the dark. And then Michael gets his shotgun that's under their bed, and he brings it to work the next day.
Yeah, and then he's like, I'm going to get this monster, and he just jumps right into the manhole.
Yeah. But he's kind of like in a basket case sense, like he's a little bit loony right now. Definitely has like crazy eye going on.
Yes.
Yeah. He's going to shoot the monster, so he jumps into the sewer. He goes to find the monster, but there's no monster, like in whatever doorway he was looking at. And then the monster comes up behind him, and he shoots his shotgun. And then it flashes to the Boy Scout is there, and the boy tells him that it's just like your typical monster. Like, it's the monster under the bed, it's the monster in your closet, it's whatever you're afraid of, which I thought was kind of cool.
I thought that was like a nice talk that the two of them had.
Yeah. And it turns out that the boy is the young version of Michael. I don't know if they really confirmed that prior to this meeting point, but it was kind of obvious that who the boy was.
Yeah, I mean, I just assumed because they call him Mikey at the beginning.
But yeah, so it's confirmed that this boy is the young version of Michael, and so young Michael tells him to face his fears, and then he gives Michael his Boy Scout hat. Which was kind of cute.
It was sweet, yeah. And he asks about, like, are girls worth it? And
yeah, he's like, yeah, they are. Then the boy goes, or young Michael goes to where the monster was living, and Michael is then being seen taken away on a stretcher by the ambulance because he actually didn't jump down the sewer, he fell down the sewer, and now he's in critical condition. And then Al was like trying to say that it was no one's fault, but then he looks at the albino alligator when the police drive away like, it's the albino alligator's fault.
Right.
I'm up to your tricks. I know what you're doing. And then, do you remember Freddy's cameo in this one?
Yeah, he like jumps up out of the manhole and he says, "Nothing to fear but fear, trust me." And then it's like he's getting pulled down and the alligator comes up. So it's like Freddy versus the albino alligator.
And I think the albino alligator won.
Yeah.
Because it looked like Freddy was being eaten by the alligator. So, yeah. Well, if Freddy versus Jason, if the sequel never works out, we can have Freddy versus albino alligator. Okay, yeah. And so now we're on to the second half.
So the second half revolves around the video store. There's like a crazy homeless woman in front of the store, and I thought it was a girl, but then maybe it's a boy. Somebody's angry that they don't have the movie that they want.
Oh yeah, it was a boy. It was like a teenage boy with a mullet, I think.
But yeah, so it's like Murray dealing with customer, and Linda is there, and she's upset because her boyfriend is in the hospital. I thought this was cute that she dials something, and then she's like, "The phone's for you," and he grabs it, and it's the sexual harassment hotline.
That was hilarious, because when Murray found out that Michael was in the hospital, he took that as a sign of, oh, maybe I should ask you out, and so he's like getting all handsy and inappropriate and talking about like, oh, I'll take you out, I'll show you a good time. And that's when she just dials this phone number and hands him the phone. That was so funny. Yeah,
and then this man comes into the store whose name is Raymond Jordan, and he works for Black Knight Audio. And apparently this video store, I guess, also sells audio cassettes. But so Murray owes them money from self-help audio cassettes.
Before that, the homeless lady comes inside the store, and and Murray kicks her out, blaming the security guard for allowing her to come in. So kind of like the security guard isn't doing his job, and so Murray gets mad at him.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. This Jamaican security guard.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And so that's when Ray from Black Knight Audio comes in after the homeless lady is kicked out.
Bit of a tangent, but like when they were talking about the videos, they were all made up movies, but there's standees throughout the store for actual movies. Yeah. There was like Die Hard and Critters.
There was Big was in there as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so maybe they just weren't allowed to say the name, but they could have the movie.
Yeah.
I was watching these on my phone, so the screen was a little small, and I couldn't see what the movies were in the background to see if they were at an actual video store filming this. But I think that they were.
Yeah, it looked like it. You didn't rent audio cassettes at your at your store, though.
No, it was just videos, adult videos, and we rented games. So, like, games for, what did we have back then? Super Nintendo and Sega.
But yeah, apparently Murray is the scummy guy who doesn't pay his bills. So Ray gives him this tape that's called How to Be a Mega Success. And it's this, you're supposed to, listen to it while you sleep. And he says the reason he's giving it to Murray is because he's hoping that he'll like it so much that he'll pay off his bill and carry the line of these tapes.
Yeah. And if Murray takes it, then Black Knight Audio will forgive all his debt that he owes them. And Ray says that the tape is like one of those subliminal manipulation tapes where if you want to lose weight or whatever, you listen to these tapes while you sleep and it will talk about being thinner or having control.
Yeah. And then I kind of loved this. We cut to Freddy and he's like, a poem by Freddy Krueger.
This was amazing. Yes.
Yeah, he recites this limerick.
So Freddy comes on and he's like, a poem by Freddy Krueger. I once met a guy who sneezed, whose throat I slit with ease. He thought he had smarts until I cut off his parts. And all he had left was his bleep. And it actually, bleeped the line. And then Freddy's like, hey, bleep this.
Yes.
So, what word did they bleep?
Something that rhymes with ease? Would have to would fit in the limerick? Yeah.
And I can't figure it out. Penis. That's the only. But why would they bleep that out? I can't think of a single bad word that rhymes with ease.
Good question, Eva.
So I guess something to ask Robert Englund.
Yeah, I loved him responding to the bleep though. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, kind of breaking that fourth wall. Yeah, so that was fun. Okay, yeah. So Freddy is a poet now. So Murray is at home and he decides to listen to the tape while he's sleeping. And the tape tells him to visualize the most important thing in his life. For whatever reason, he dreams about his parents, who I think are the parents from the very beginning of the episode, the ones who were in that 60s sitcom.
I think so. Yeah, because there was only one credited mom and dad in the credits, so it must have been the same couple.
Okay, they just reused those parents. Okay, and then his parents call him a butt and worthless and a slime ball, and that he needs more discipline in life. And he's like, "No, wait, you guys are dead. You shouldn't even be here." And then his parents cut off his penis.
Yeah, but it seemed like they were hacking him in the torso. They pull out meat cleavers and they're hacking at him.
Yeah.
And then later it references that they cut off his penis.
Yeah, that's what. So when I first when I was writing down my notes, I was like, oh, they sawed him in half. But then he referenced his penis still being there. And I was like, oh, well, they cut off his penis, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of hard to tell what exactly they did to him.
Yeah, and then he wakes up in bed with this woman named Rebecca. There's a muscle guy next to her who then punches him.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, he wakes up with Rebecca in bed next to him, and she calls him a slime ball as well. And then this muscle guy just pops up from bed, and all three of them are in bed together, and then the muscle guy reaches over Rebecca and punches Murray in the face.
And this was the weird part of the episode where it's just dream stuff happening that doesn't really make much sense.
Yeah, it's just a constant loop of being in one dream after the other. So after he gets punched in the face, he wakes up in the alley by his store, and the security officer that works at his store, the Jamaican guy, he's like insulting Murray, calling him like a dumb butt or whatever. And then Murray offers to give him a raise, and the security guard shoots him.
Does he shoot him then?
But he points a gun at him and pulls the trigger, but no bullet comes out. And then Murray wakes up again in the alley, but this time he's the homeless lady that he kicked out of the store earlier. So he's like, he wakes up as her, and he's like feeling his face and feeling his lady boobs that he has now.
Right.
And he goes to use his breath spray that he has, and he ends up like choking and dies.
Yeah, it was really weird. Like, he kept using the breath spray throughout the episode, and it wasn't, there's no real payoff to it. I wasn't sure.
No, because it seemed like every time he used it, he died.
Yeah.
So he uses the breath spray as the lady, and then he wakes up yet again, but he's in his own bed this time, and he's his actual self, and he goes to the mirror in his room, and he realizes that it was all a dream, and it was fine, and he uses the breath spray again, and then a hand comes through the mirror and pulls him into like this other dimension. Yeah,
and then he's like in a starry place with Raymond, who's there in a convertible, and apparently he's he's being controlled and stuck in this dream because of this tape that Raymond gave him. And Raymond says, "You don't wake up until I say you wake up." It's just a lot of this, like, I can't wake up, and Raymond, and like he wakes up with a toy car on his face, and Raymond's in the room, and Raymond tells him, "Your subconscious is mine."
And Ray will only release him from the dream if Murray agrees to pay off his debt to Black Knight Audio, and then give Ray half of his assets.
Yes.
Yeah. And Murray refuses to do so, and so he's transported back to his bedroom, where he's thrown up against the wall, and then a chainsaw breaks through the wall right next to him. And then Murray wakes up again. It's 8:35 in the morning, and he tries to leave his room, but his bedroom door is blocked by a brick wall, and he decides to leave out of his bedroom window, but when he does that, he falls and dies.
Yes. Well, he doesn't he keep climbing out the window over and over again?
Yeah, so now he's stuck in a continuous loop of climbing out of his window, and we find out that if he tries to leave the property, he will only end up coming out of the window again. So he's in this endless loop. He's not able to leave the property. And then he looks down the sidewalk when he's outside, and he sees a motorcycle. On the other end of the sidewalk, he sees a knight on a horse, and they're like jousting in front of him.
Yeah, I have no idea what the point of that was.
None whatsoever, but it scared him enough to where he like fully submitted to Ray and agreed to give Ray whatever he wanted, so they like shook on it. Yeah, so Ray shows up, he agrees to give him everything that he wants, they shake on it, and then he wakes up again in his bedroom and decides to go to the video store. And when he gets there, the security guy, he's high as a kite and shoots Murray, thinking that he's a burglar trying to break in. Yeah. And so we think Murray is dead, but Murray wakes up again in his bed, and Ray is in bed with him, and he's laughing at him because he's still trapped in it.
Yeah, I feel like it would have been a better ending if it had just ended with him getting shot by the security guard.
I agree with that completely. That's something that I had in my notes. Like, this would have been a good way to end it.
Right.
But no, they just kept going.
So it just sort of ends with him like still in the dream, still can't wake up.
Well, when he wakes up and Ray is there, he's like, "I did everything you said I had to do. I'm paying you back. I gave you half my assets. Like, what's the deal?" And Ray is like, "Oh, no, we only shook on it," which is something that Murray said earlier in the episode. Ray was like, "You said that you would pay us back all the money that we owed you, or the money for the videotapes, or the money for the cassette tapes." And Murray was like, "We only shook on it. I need to see something in writing." So Ray is using that against him. Like, I never put it in writing that I would release you if you gave me X, Y, and Z. We only shook on it.
But then I was thinking, so what was the point?
I guess just to torture him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Eventually he's going to wake up. Unless he's like in a coma. He's going to wake up sooner or later. Your body just like naturally wakes up after so many hours. Yeah, then that's how it ends. Just Murray will always be in this dream.
And then Freddy says to sleep, perchance to dream, and uses the breath spray.
And that is from Hamlet. And that line is Hamlet basically considering suicide. So I don't know if there's any correlation between using that line and what Murray is thinking or going through. It's probably they just like were like, oh, give us a famous quote that has the word sleep in it. Sleep and dream. And they found the one from Hamlet and they were like sold.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's what happened.
Yeah, more so than anything else. How'd you feel about it?
I really liked the first half. I loved the monster in the sewers thing. I thought that was great. It was like surprisingly effective, like the hand coming out and grabbing him. And I really did not like the second half. It was sort of, I guess it reminded me of, the second episode with Lar Park Lincoln when they're in the hospital and it's like just like dream things going on in the hospital, but not really a point or a plot. And so it was sort of that type of thing again, where it's just this video store guy going through all these dreams, but it's not really going anywhere.
Yeah, I agree with you completely on that. I would have liked the second part better if they would have ended it with the security guard shooting Murray, but the fact that they just had to keep going with it, that kind of ruined it for me.
What did you think of the first half?
I liked the first half. I think it could have been fleshed out a little bit better, but I loved the monster. Like, seeing that, I thought that it was great. And you had mentioned earlier where you kind of forget after a while that you're watching Freddy until Freddy pops up.
Right.
But yeah, I think that the first half with the monster, that could have been like an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode or a Goosebumps episode. Like, it wasn't Freddy dependent at all, and I really liked that.
Yeah, and it tied together well at the end with him meeting his young self. That was kind of fun.
Yeah. So the first half was definitely more enjoyable than the second half.
Yes, by far.
Okay, well, do you have anything for next week's episode?
I do. Thanks so much for listening. Please join us next week when we talk about Season 1, Episode 21, Identity Crisis, where we learn all about the horrors of turning 40.
There's no horror in turning 40. There better not be.